Man, did you know that according to Vivek Murthy, who was a former Surgeon General for the United States, did a study on the epidemic of loneliness and isolation. He found that 50% of adults in the U.S. frequently report loneliness as a problem in their lives, and that has certainly gone up. This was pre-COVID. Certainly throughout COVID, we know what happened. We saw suicide rates skyrocket in the United States, depression rates go off the charts, but that was pre-COVID. 50% of adults reported loneliness. The statistics among men, according to the Rochester Health Report, say that only 27% of men have only 6 close friends, and that is down 50% from what it was just 3 decades ago. 50% of men report having no close friends at all, and 30% of men say that they have had a private conversation with someone this week that was of a significant level. Check this out. According to this study that a former Surgeon General did, the effects on a person's health and well-being of loneliness actually shorten their lifespan, and it is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. The conclusion that he came to is that we are in an epidemic of loneliness. Welcome to The Next Stage. It's episode 29 of the Next Stage podcast. I'm your host, Rob Stout, and we are in a series called What Really Matters. And I would like to welcome to the next stage my good friend, Bart Lillie. Bart and I have been friends for a long time, but he is a man that I deeply respect. He's one of the men in my inner circle in life. We've been together in a group for close to 8 years, I think, something like that. But Bart, not only a good guy, but is a leader in a very significant company. He's a vice president of partner engagement at a company called Synergy, where he is an executive leader in a company that helps create lifetime value through relationships between nonprofits and their donors. We're not talking necessarily about his professional life today, but he's also involved as a volunteer staff with the Restoration Project, and that is a faith-based nonprofit that helps equip men to engage in their communities and their families with intentionality, integrity, and kindness. So shout out to Restoration Project. Many of my friends are involved with them. I know Bart has a great history there. Bart's a fantastic husband. I'm sure Jenny would agree with that. A father of 2, a daughter who's in college right now overseas, a son who is a senior in high school. Great guy. I don't know how I could put the ball on the tee any better than that. You just have to hit it out of the park. But welcome, Bart, to the next stage.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here. That I can't live up to half of what you said. Oh, man,
it's all true. It's right off your LinkedIn.
That's true. Well, there you go.
And that's all true stuff,
there
right?
You go. Because clearly LinkedIn, it's exactly the epitome of what is going on in my life. Yes.
Truth. Absolutely.
Nice.
But I welcome, and you're the guy that when I was thinking about people to talk about this and what really matters, you're a man who I know feels very passionately about this. So how do you react, Bart, to those statistics in that intro?
Well, it's funny that we joke about LinkedIn as a piece of that. That is, I think the stats are really true. And there is a piece of our world that, the truth of our world with men, we are lonely. I think just as we grow up as kids, it's easy to connect. And sure, you don't have your friends go here and there. High school, you make some new friends and you think you're at the top of the world friendship-wise in high school. And then you go to college and realize, oh my gosh, there's even more people to get to know. And then you have these experiences in college. Now, I'll speak for myself. I did. And I know you had some too. And maybe a lot of guys do. They're on a team together. Some people go into the services together and they experience a community and a connection that is really profound. And then even those years after college, they're staying in touch. They're going fishing. They're going hunting. They're doing fun things together. Whatever. And then they get married. And then the kids come along, and those are parts of good things in life, but the men friendships often get pushed aside for a lot of us. And so those are normal rhythms. But going back to the LinkedIn stuff, the Facebook stuff, the Instagram stuff, those are facades that we architect to make people think, what do I want you to know about me? I want you to know that I work at Synergy, I volunteer with RP, with Restoration Project, that I do this with my kids. Great. It's LinkedIn. Yes, I believe it's all true. But it's still how I want you to perceive.
It's your personal marketing page. Yeah.
It is exactly that. Yeah. And I think all of us know this too, that with Facebook or Instagram or the other things that people might use, it's curated by us. And those facades are just that. It's a mask that we wear. And the more we put in front of ourselves, and you've got that in front of you, the less we can really see and connect with the other person. And that increases our loneliness.
Well, but you said it well. We're in this just beehive or anthill of activity in high school and college, and we both had very similar backgrounds in that with our experience with Crew. Very rich college experiences, fantastic, but
slightly different though.
What? You went to, are we talking about where we went to school? I told you we were going to leave out the Michigan-Ohio State thing.
It's a beautiful piece of our friendship.
It is a beautiful piece of our friendship, especially because you went to Michigan and I went to the Harvard of Wood County, Ohio, Bowling Green State University. But the point being that we go to further degrees of isolation, and how many old guys do we know who sit in their house and watch TV and have zero friendships, and they've gone from this to this. It
goes from feast to famine in a decade or so, and it really doesn't have to be that way, but the math plays out, and the stats that you were sharing I think they're overstated. I think there's a lot of men who they hit their 40s and they're like, where did my friends go? They hit their 50s and they're like, I really am in this by myself. And then those crises land hard on us.
Right.
And then it's compounded by the fact that we don't have anybody to talk to.
Yeah, and we've gone from a herd of, bull elk together to isolated lone wolves out there. Yeah. And so the series is titled What Really Matters. It's about what really, in capital letters, matters to the people that I want to talk to about these issues. And so what really, capital letters, REALLY, matter to you, and why?
Yeah. So for me, to talk about community and creating opportunities for men to connect with other men, that really matters. And it is part of the DNA, I think, of how God made me. And I've been doing it in different ways, shapes, and forms for a long time. And I think that it's beyond just being an extrovert. I just really think that it takes other relationships and other men to speak into our life, to bring healing, to bring perspective, to bring camaraderie, to bring fun and play, and also to bring purpose and depth. And so it's just a multifaceted jewel, a treasure that we can have is just being in relationship with other guys.
So tell me about a time when you experienced that as a younger man, and then obviously you already said it, life changes. You get married. For those out there who are listening, and I know several who are like about to get married, life changes. And I know many who are like about to have children, and life changes them. But tell me about your experience as a younger man.
Yeah, okay.
And then I want to move to now.
So when in the decade, I got married when I was 29.
Okay.
So I spent a few years post college, like just running and gunning with like 3 other guys, like Eric Steffen, who's no longer with us, was like my partner in crime on so many things, and then Darren and Matt were the other 2, and the 4 of us were, literally 4 horsemen of the apocalypse with crew of just relationally blowing things up in fun ways, creating spaces, competing together, and we would camp together and just do life and stories and encourage each other. We all got married within, I would say, about a 2-year window, and it was in 2001. I was the first one to get married, and Gladiator had just come out. And
remember that summer it came out.
I know, and it was like strength and honor was our call, our rallying cry for each other, as we were the night before we were getting the weddings for each of us. Strength and honor was a prayer and a blessing that we would give each other, among many other things, like I'm going to threaten to Sharpie your butt with hi Jenny or whatever, kind of stuff.
Right.
I pushed back. I did not. It did not happen.
Okay.
Yeah, just for the record.
Good for you. You always took the high ground. Yeah, exactly. Way to go. Way to go.
But those years together. We were doing ministry. We were doing life. We were traveling. We were weekends. All kinds of things. We did it together, and we talked as best we knew at the time, as deep as we knew at the time.
Yeah.
And
with with the equipment you had at the time.
And it was great. We that really set things up. And then I got married, and then suddenly the other 3 are still single, and we go to that first conference, that first event, like for a weekend. And Jenny's like, "Hey, you're going to come back to the, and I'm like, "But hey,
no.
My God, but," and I was like, it was real. It hit the fan in a lot of ways, and I'm like, okay. I have multiple people who are vying for my attention,
right?
And where's my allegiance?
And who deserve your attention?
Yeah. So I did not navigate that well for a number of years, and I would say that's still probably a real conversation. I mean, if you pull Jenny into the chair, she'd be like, "Yeah, that's still happening."
Yeah, we still do that.
So that's kind of part of my story. But as those years played out for all of us, we naturally did. The friendships stayed as friendships, but our wives became primary. And so even like I said, that like what happened in general happened for the 4 of us.
Right.
It's like we didn't have the time to go weekending together.
Every weekend.
Traveling together. Right. Playing together. We had to make that time happen, and it had to fit with my schedule and his schedule and his schedule, and it didn't, So it became harder.
So life happens. Then you throw kids on that. You throw career on that. And these aren't bad things. These are good things. But now, fast forward, how do you cultivate that now?
So we moved out to Colorado about 4 or 5 years into our marriage. And so at that point, not only I was no longer in the same, 4-state area in the Midwest, I'm out west. And
it's a long, they call it flyover country for a reason. I mean, it's a long way.
It is. And so I couldn't just hang out with those guys. I had to make some new friends, and I had to figure this piece out. Not a story for right now, but my wife and I, we walked through some really crazy days, crazy months actually. And we came to Colorado to like hit the reset button and say, okay, now what?
That's when we first met, actually.
Yeah.
It was right after you moved here.
Yeah. So we had a lot of things that were going on, like, okay, how do we start? And we moved to Colorado without a community.
Right.
And so there was a real sense of like, okay, who am I going to hang out with? And so we found some people, some guys like you, people like you at church and what different places. And over the years, slowly began to get connected. One of my friends from Crew also moved out here a few years later. And he moved to Fort Collins, about 45 minutes away from us. And it's Chris Bruno, and he started Restoration Project and with a friend, and I was a part of that like first circle. And I told him, I said, Chris, are you sure you want me to be a founding member or whatever this looks like, you know?
Right.
And I said, you know, I've kind of screwed my life up in all these different ways. And he said, we all have a story.
He said, you're perfect. Me too,
Yeah,
by that point in
your
his
story,
life, probably, right?
Your story's like, it's welcome here. And I think what I began to see is that things break. We hurt each other. Our lives get scarred and broken a lot of times through the relationships that we have. Our parents, as best as they all try, there's gaps because none of us are perfect. We can't give our kids exactly what they need. Our friends, as much as we lean on them, don't always show up for us. And so we start carrying these wounds that are relational, and we are learning through that trauma and through the tragedies that like, oh my gosh, this bad thing happened. It was a person that did it. And it's like, and we start pulling away over time. So why is community so important to me? I think that what is broken through relationship is also healed through relationship. So I think the growth that I want for my life when it comes to just kind of myself, my soul, my heart, those are things that I think I'm going to find that healing, not necessarily on my own doing solo work. It's with other guys in community.
Yeah.
So Restoration Project talks a lot about that, and there's some, you know, that community of men is a big piece of our collective story as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've been in a group for a number of years, and that has been the most consistent group I've had
Right.
for ages. And I'm grateful because we have that regularity, that intentionality, and the healing and just the goodness that comes from that is really important to me.
Yeah. Just a couple side notes for those listening. Number one, Crew. We will put a link in the notes about Crew. Started off as a campus ministry organization. Now it's worldwide and all of that. But Bart and I were both involved as students with them. I also served on staff with them. This is Mr. International, Mr. Middle East guy for a number of years in his 20s. Also, Restoration Project, we'll put a link. They do some really, really cool things. I'm wondering, can you give an example of a time in your life when, I don't know, I don't want to be too dramatic, but when you needed community the most, when you saw people come around you who you had cultivated earlier, and they were there for you when it mattered the most?
Yeah. I have a couple. There's, let me just, I'm going to give two stories on that. The first one is more, if you know, as we talk about milestones of life. I moved out here in 2005. I was not quite. I was a few years out from 40. I turned 40, and kind of a big birthday, you know?
It's a big one. Yeah.
And
I remember way back then. Mike, do you remember way back at studio guy Mike? He doesn't even remember. It was so long ago. Anyway, go ahead.
But Jenny got me this, like, invite some guys and do a beer tour around Denver.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who to invite. I had
Your quiver
few
was empty at that point.
We've been out here like 3 or 4 years and just been trying to rebuild and heal and fix some things and like refocus some things. My career was in just really in a reset mode, and I've told this story enough that I've actually gone back and figured out who the 5 other guys were.
Right.
But the point was, it's like I barely had to figure that out. And so then over the course of just, I'm going to start inviting guys to do things. I'm going to start engaging and saying yes to showing up. When I get invited to something, I'm going to say yes to that. And over the course of those next 5 years, the next invitation was, let's go down to Stranahan's and do a tour, a whiskey tour, and then we're going over to Law's 4 grain. Which
So you upgraded from beer to bourbon?
Yeah, my friend Jamie says never send beer to do whiskey's job. So so we went to those places. I had 15 guys show up, and I could have invited 10 more.
So you went from the milkman
I'm not
and
sure. Yeah, exactly.
the guy at the bank to people who you really were there for you.
And so I look at that, and it took time. It wasn't overnight. But those small deposits over time built those relationships. If you take that and you, that was, so 45, maybe 5 or 6 years later, just had another crisis at home. And there was, I sent out a text message where we just had we had to make an emergency trip to the hospital with one of my family members, and that was a tough one. Like, that story was really hard, that I was carrying, and scary, and it didn't take much of like a phone call to a couple of you guys, and everybody was in the loop. And I had guys over at my house praying for me. I had guys over and actually physically taking care of needs in my house that I couldn't do at the time. And it's like people showed up. I remember that night. People showed up. And so it is, you never none of us know what's going to happen. I had no idea, things were going to land on me. And, something I've learned through Restoration Project, and this is part of why I think community is such a big deal. Tragedy is going to hit.
Right. And we used to be surprised by that. Like, whoa. Yeah, it's not if, it's when. Right?
Tragedy is going to hit. And it can be big, it can be small, and it's fine. Happens with our kids when we're teaching them how to walk and we're teaching them all these things. It turns into a trauma that scars us when we don't deal with it right away, or when we don't deal with it in a way that's healthy. When the tragedy lands on us, I had a friend of mine going back to a broken season of my life. He's like, dude, people get sick, they go to the hospital. You break your arm, you get a cast. He's like, you've had this emotional, mental, spiritual trauma, brokenness. Right. Go see a counselor. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, it's okay, Right. And so I did that, and so that idea then of, and and I've gone back and forth with counseling only a little bit in my life, but I've gone deep in relationships, because I think that even just having a group of guys to connect with and say, this is what's going on in my life, can take a tragedy that is landing on me and prevent it from really becoming a trauma that I carry. Sure. The tragedy is the event that happens. The trauma is what scars me.
And it's ongoing.
Forward. And we carry it forward unless we deal with it. And I think we can deal with it in community.
Yeah. No, well said. Well said. I appreciate that. And I think my mind goes to Ecclesiastes where Solomon says, "Pity the man that has no one."
Yeah.
And the vast majority, according to a very recent study, this isn't years old. I mean, you go back to Thoreau. Thoreau was like, hey, listen, the vast majority of men lead lives of quiet desperation. That is true then. Yeah. That is true now. And gosh, the thing that really, really, really matters is the thing of community. We're going to take a break 1 second here, and we're going to listen to Chris, who is our producer, talk about a way that at the Next Stage we're helping men develop in community. And that is with the Next Stage Men's Weekend. And Bart was actually the MC at our very first ever
there you go
weekend. And so Chris is going to tell us a little bit about that, and we'll be back.
Hey man, this is producer Chris Mann for the Next Stage podcast for men. Only 27% of men report having a group of close friends, and only 30% report having a private, in-depth conversation with a friend. So is this a big deal? Well, studies show that a lack of social connection raises a man's risk for early death by the equivalent of, and get this is really important, smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Man, it's time to quit the whole lonesome cowboy Marlboro man shtick. Sherpa 5280 has a powerful retreat that we take on the road, and we call it the With Everything Men's Retreat. It's a 3-day weekend experience that helps a man learn to live with passion, purpose, power, and perspective as men created in God's image. And listen up, this is key. Doing so in community of other men just like you. You can bring this powerful retreat experience to your local men's group, church, or even business. Just take 30 seconds and contact Rob Stout today at the Next Stage at Sherpa5280.com for details. That's the Next Stage @ Sherpa5280.com. Just write the words "with everything" in the subject line, stick in your contact information in the body of the email, and we'll connect with you. For more information, visit Sherpa5280.com/retreat today. That's Sherpa5280.com/retreat.
Chris, thanks. And if you want more info about the weekend and what we do at With Everything, would love to tell you more about that, or about how your church, your men's group, your organization, your nonprofit, your for-profit, we don't care who it is, we would love to tell you more about that. Just shoot us an email at the Next Stage at Sherpa5280.com. Okay, so back to the conversation. How would you encourage men to develop this area of community in their lives? You already mentioned intentionality. Like, you were alone. You had a 40th birthday party and you had to invite the mailman. I mean, but then you had that years before, and then you developed it after that. How would you encourage men who are in that season to develop that?
Yeah. So let's start and say it's not one size fits all. Okay.
Why? Why?
Because we're all made different.
Well, we're both extroverts. We would make friends with the mailman,
we
right?
We would, and we did invite them. But so there is a sense that you can't, and I mean this, that like, you can't compare yourself to me. I can't compare myself to you, to him, and say, well, he does that, I should do that too. Let's just kind of
or I'm not him, and therefore I can't be the great relationship magnet that Bart is.
But we still have, and I'm going to way oversimplify this into 3 categories.
Sure.
And so if you're listening and you think, okay, I'm probably in that category, good enough, go with it. So there's a group that is go first. When it comes to community, they're going to go first. They're going to create a space. That typically is the extroverts in that sense. They're going to go first and clear a path, find it, and like they are putting a flag in the ground that says community here,
Well, but they usually do that in the rest of their life, like you and like I do. We just go. We're the tip of the spear. We just do it, right?
So there's a go first group. Second group would be a go along group. Okay. Or a go with group, I should say.
Go with.
And the second group is go with, and like they're going to say yes. Typically, they're like, oh yeah, I'm interested in that. I like what Bart's got going on here. Rob's got some cool stuff. I'm going to go with Rob. And wherever the flag gets put, I'm there too.
Sure.
So that third group then is the go along group, where to go along is a little bit more of a stretch. They're observing or watching. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. And so that the going along is a bigger step. The go with is almost an automatic response. Going along is, I'm not sure. And so how do you build community regardless of who you are in that?
So let me get your categories.
Yeah.
The go first, go with, go along.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so if you just got to live in your lane in a sense.
Yeah.
And
Be who you are.
Yeah. If you're a go first guy, then create some spaces, plant some flags. If you're a go with kind of guy, then show up at those when they get called out, when they're happening. If you see a flag, go be a part of it. And if you're a go along guy and you're like, I don't know, I'm titled it go along and it with intentionality of like, I'm encouraging you to go along. You might see the flag and you might see the group and you might be like, I don't know if those are my people. There might be a flag over there. I don't know, maybe those are my people. Go along with one of them.
The point being, and if somebody's built this way and they're just not a people person, that's fine. But don't be the victim of your own circumstance and just sit back and live a life of quiet desperation. Smoke those 15 cigarettes a day.
Yeah.
But figure out where your place is. Is that the go along guy?
Yeah.
Figure it out.
I think that there is everyone has a chance to say yes to these things. And you mentioned earlier that I lived overseas. I was in Istanbul for a bit, and we had a joke when we were there. How many? And I'll ask you the question: How many people can fit on a Turkish bus?
Just one more.
One more. Exactly.
Is that right?
Totally one more. I mean,
I was in an Asian bus and it was the same way.
It's the same. Yeah. These old cities of like super narrow roads. You had to get around by buses, and you would get up, and it's like you're already standing room only. And the bus stops, and more guys get on.
And it smells so good in there.
And then it goes further, and one guy gets off, and two guys get on. I mean,
and we Americans have our social space, right? But nope, not in the rest of the world.
So this idea of one more, though, like if whether you go first or go with or going along is a challenge, I would encourage you to bring a friend with you. Always bring a plus one in a sense of like, who can I invite to this? I'm going to go first, and I'm going to ask my friend to come.
That's my brother. My wife and I during COVID, just to jump in and interrupt here, there was this little opening, and Nicole and I were like, "Hey, we're gonna fly to Orlando, and then we're gonna drive to the Keys because Florida was open." Well, my brother is I'm going to come along and I'm going to bring everybody with me because it was an opportunity for my wife and I to get away. He was like, oh, I'm going to go. He brought himself, his two kids, and a couple friends. And it was like a whole crowd.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really, Joe, just wanted to kind of spend some time with my wife, but glad you're here.
Right.
So, yeah.
So just whether you go first or go with, those are the people that are they generally say yes to these kind of things. You're the guys that can actually invite those people to go along who might be on the fence. Or people who just don't even know about it. They don't know there's a flag over here where people are getting together for community.
Right.
It's an invitation. And so that is a big deal to say, will you come with me? Jesus tossed out come and see in John, and people caught on, and other people started saying come and see as well. Jesus said it kind of first, and then Andrew's like, in a conversation, they're like, really? Andrew's like, come and see. And it's an invitation to move from where you are and to a new space. That's what come requires. And see is, I'm going to investigate and look at what is happening in this place.
Wow.
And so you are, when we invite other people into community, whether you plant the flag or you're just there because you're coming along and you're going with, it is an invitation. Our ability to invite others to that space can transform their stories. Because I think that we need other people in our life, not until we have to unsmoke 15 cigarettes a day,
Right.
but it's the breaking of the loneliness. It's the breaking of the shame. It's the breaking of strongholds that can keep us stuck in so many different other areas of our life. When we get out, when we're with other guys, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So a couple things I want to, you planting a flag, and it doesn't just have to be an extrovert who can do it.
Right.
Anyone can do this. So you're either creating a space or you're creating a time. And it always happens in a place and a time. And so the space, some people have great backyards. They've got a cool fire pit. They've got a great garage.
Yep.
Or they own some land, or they own some space, or they're like they know this cool pub, or this cool golf course, or this cool whatever, this river.
Cigar bar, fishing hole, you name it. It's a space, right?
It's like if you know of a place and you like it, use that. Let that be the space
Right.
that you plant a flag and say, let's put some community into this.
Yeah.
And then there's a timing factor. Are you a morning person? You like coffee? I've got this great coffee shop. Okay, cool. You can do lunch. You got a busy schedule, but you can make time for lunch. Great. Then you can build lunch happy hour. What a great way to get connections. Dinners, weekends. That's a bigger ask, but it happens. And when you can pull away from a weekend and go to the weekend that you guys host, those are opportunities to really develop community
Right.
in a massive way. And to plus one and bring guys along, you can invite them into a community that can really bring some transformation.
Yeah. And we've both seen that in our lives. We've seen that in lives that we've brought men along, and that's a lot of men sit on the sidelines. It's like the middle school dance. You just feel like, I don't know, man, you know. But I love that.
Yeah.
Go first, go with, go along, create a time, create a space.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I think and I'll add one more reason why guys say no.
Yeah.
And it's a two-sided coin, but it's kind of the same issue.
Okay.
There's the guys who think, I don't need this. This isn't. I'm good. I have what I'm doing just fine. And then there's other guys who think, I don't deserve this. It's not.
Or if they only knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they don't, I'm not worthy of being in that circle of men. And it's really, one group is stuck with pride, and the other group is stuck in shame.
It's the pride, shame. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you think I don't need these people, and this is not, I'm not trying to guilt and say everybody needs to go to this circle or that circle. It's not an issue. Find it. Find a circle. But if our response is consistently stiff arm, then our eyes are either closed or they're blind, and we are in our arrogance saying, I'm better than that group. They don't have anything to offer for me. And that pride will keep us stuck and could keep us in that loneliness and 15 cigarettes a day. If we're in this shame group and we don't feel like we're worthy, our eyes are downcast and we're not willing to look up and look another guy in the eyes. You're blind or you're looking down, but either way you're missing the connection that can come just from guys saying, I'm here, I'm showing up in this community, I'm planting a flag, I'm coming along, I'm coming with, we're all here, we brought friends. Going back to the facades, the masks and all that, it's a risk to take those off to a
Right.
different degree.
Right.
And it doesn't mean we need to go all in the first time. But small placements of, deposits of connection and relational, that builds a friendship. Mm-hmm. And that friendship builds a brotherhood. And that brotherhood creates a community that is going to change your life and the lives of the guys who show up.
I love it. I love it. Go first, go with, go along. Create a space, create a time. Don't be susceptible to pride or shame.
Yeah.
That's a good place. And we got to stick a pin in this conversation right now, my friend. But wow. Wow. I would like to thank you for being part of the next stage. You're a busy man.
It's good.
You've got a lot going on. It's a busy day, a busy week for you. And I'd like to thank you for being part of the next stage as well. I would encourage you to like, to share, to subscribe to us on whatever channel you're on, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, whatever you're on. If you would also click that little bell on YouTube, it'll remind you that there's an episode coming up. And we'd encourage you to give us a 5-star review. That would help as we spread the word about what we're doing. But we'd also love feedback. So if you have anything to weigh in on a question, email us at thenextstage@sherpa5280.com. And until next time, I want to encourage you to keep reaching for what God made you for. He created you to live in your created potential. And I want to encourage you in this area of community, what really matters, to reach into that. Until we talk to you next time, we will see you then. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.